Metaphysic Spotlight. My name is Kathy. I'll be the host for tonight. We also have Bill Hannon and Josie Way co-hosting with me. And our guest is a very interesting guest that we have today. I've known her for a few years now. Her name is Patti McGarrahan. She's the owner of the Mind's Eye in Orig, is it?
Yes.
So we'll be talking about, some of the things that she does, and how long she's been doing this stuff, though. So I just want to talk about how we met. I was looking for someone to teach Karuna Reiki because I just felt that pulled for it, though. So I don't remember who I reached out to, though, but they told me that you teach it. So that's, and then I contacted you on that, though. So it was just me and one other student that took the Karuna with you. Well, 3 levels for that. And do you remember how long ago that was? I don't remember what my certificate says now.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
I would have to think about 5 years.
It's been that long already, huh?
It could be about, because I think my new place was pretty new when you came in.
Yeah, okay. So it's longer than I thought.
Yeah.
I actually like Karuna Reiki, though there are different styles. I teach the Usui and the Karuna for people. So let's just take it over to you. How did you get started with the Karuna Reiki?
I actually had a chance to take a class with William Rand, who is the president of the Usui Reiki, the Reiki International.
Right, okay.
And I got a chance to take it with him, and I was very interested in it because with my hypnotherapy, I love metaphysical hypnosis over the regular.
Right.
And it's almost like with Karuna, you have almost like metaphysical symbols that I feel are so powerful. And there's nothing that you can't do with the regular Reiki.
Right.
But it just takes longer, and I kind of like the speedy,
it's a little quicker,
version. Of it.
It's just a different vibration, though. That's what it comes down to. But there's so many symbols with the Karuna, and that tends to overwhelm people at first.
Yep.
I know when I teach it, though, at this point, though, it's like sometimes people get really stuck on the symbols. I'm like, don't worry about the symbols. You're gonna it's gonna take time to learn the symbols, but once you have them, though, it's so awesome, though, because they do so many different
things. When I took it with William Rand too, all in our hotel rooms, we were staying in a hotel in New York, in northern New York. And they gave us all the symbols to start studying. And I went, whoa. And then I had to break it down into Karuna 1, Karuna 2, and Karuna Master.
Yeah.
So that way it wasn't quite so overwhelming. It's crazy.
I really enjoy the energy of the Karuna, even though all the symbols are very intense. But it's a soft energy with it, though, too.
It is a very soft, beautiful energy with it.
So you can work through a lot of stuff, though, with the Karuna symbols.
And it just is like, you could take the long distance symbol to go into past lives, but with the Karuna, they have their own symbol that just takes you right there into the past life that the person needs to work on.
Yeah. So what else do you do at the at your
I certify hypnotherapists and teach both clinical hypnosis and metaphysical hypnosis.
Okay.
I do a lot of psychic and mediumship work. That's probably, mediumship is kind of taken over a lot more than I had expected it to do. Originally, I just thought it was just going to contain in my readings. But then I did something in Vancouver where I ended up doing stand-up in a group. And it just, after that happened, it just kind of...
Just opened up
a few more doors that I didn't expect to open. And it's so funny because the mediumship is what I fought the most. And I took thousands and thousands of dollars in classes so that way I could learn to not have mediumship because they brought me to death. And I would feel how they would die. So after I studied with everybody and asked the question and nobody gave me the answer, I watched a Montel Williams with Sylvia Brown on it, and in her raspy 4 packs of cigarette voice, she said, "Just ask them not to." You know what I mean?
Something that simple, yeah.
And it's so funny because I did have, with my readings and everything and my spirit guides, I had all these boundaries with them so that way it was contained, so I wasn't getting information 24 hours a day.
Right.
And I didn't want to go to the grocery store and be reading everybody in line, you know? So I put all these boundaries down by asking angels and stuff like that. But I never thought to ask them and didn't realize that they're learning how to get the information to me as much as I'm learning how to receive the information from them. So once I got that down, I got pulled on stage in Vancouver, and a girl that I knew, like lightheartedly, like we went to the pub and had a sandwich and a drink, like after classes, you know, you don't realize that some people have such heavy problems and so much stuff going on in their life. And I did a stand-up mediumship where her father and her grandmother, her father's mother, came through, and I watched this girl heal in 5-7 minutes while I was on stage, and all of a sudden I said, whoa, this is what it's about.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty incredible experience, and it did change my life. And so then I had to come back and say, okay, I taught hypnobirthing. I need to remove that. I brought Larry in, so I have a shaman in my one, and he's teaching the shaman classes.
Okay.
Do you know, I've had Daisy there for 19 years, so it's, I redistributed, and I had to take my control issues and learn how to put them away.
Do?
Daisy's a psychic medium as well.
So she does a lot of that.
She does a lot more of the one-on-one, where I tend to do a lot more of the groups. But I mean, I do a lot of one-on-ones too.
Right.
But you know what I mean? It's just, I can get her to do a group read maybe once a year. I get so excited. Then we kind of co-do it. And
there's a friend of mine.
We're like sisters from another life. So we're basically opposites, about as opposite as you can get.
Right.
In fact, we laugh. My husband has got almost the same birthday, just a day or two apart from her husband. And her partner and I are 1 day apart.
Oh.
So it's so funny. So we have that.
Frequency.
It is. It's crazy. So she'll call me up and say, is that an Aquarian thing? I'll call and say, is that a Taurus thing?
Right.
So it's one of those things. So we just get our information. We complement each other wonderfully. So I love to do things with her. But you know, sometimes she feels like it, sometimes she doesn't, and we're all different. I get her out of the box. She grounds me.
She's the Taurus, or you are?
She's the Taurus. I'm not. I'm Aquarius rising with the Gemini moon.
Oh my goodness, you're really floating up there, though.
Yeah. I can't understand how I got in finance and stuff, you know, for years.
So when is your birthday?
February 10th, next Monday.
Okay, because mine is today.
Yours is today. Happy birthday.
Another Aquarius.
Another Aquarius. Yes, so you're surrounded, Kathy.
I jokingly, I won't do it to you, I jokingly call myself an airhead because of the air energy.
I do too.
Grounding is helpful.
Yeah, it is. I had a Capricorn daughter that helps do a lot of grounding too. So.
Right.
So it works out well.
Yeah.
So I've had to learn how to give up control and let other people teach it. And it was so funny because there was a mediumship circle that another business had, and her people came to mine, my people came to hers. I've got a really good circle of people. It's very exciting. So what happened is I went there and I saw a man that had two of the same major shamanic, because I did a shamanic apprenticeship program too, and had the wolf and the red-tailed hawk next to them. And I said to another lady, I said, oh, a shaman. And I heard him whisper to the lady, when we do one-on-one, I want to work with her. So he must have seen something as well. And the second time I saw him, when I was going into the business, I got told basically that I was fired and he was hired for the shamanic classes.
Oh, okay.
And somebody turned to him and said, I'm getting spirits telling me you need to start doing groups. And I said, and I got told that you're supposed to do groups for me. So, and he's been with me ever since. And it released me from some things because I was getting pulled in too many different directions.
Sure.
So I stick pretty much to the psychic mediumship, the hypnosis, and the Reiki now. Reiki and Corona.
Yeah.
Now, for the metaphysical hypnosis, is that a class by itself though that you learned?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So if you want to have your hypnosis certification, you really need to have 100 hours total.
Okay.
So the hypnosis class, which I taught on this weekend, the first 14 hours out of a 20-hour class, it's clinical so that you learn all the basics and stuff like that. The Metaphysical, I wrote the book, got it approved by the National Guild, and that kind of stuff. Well, that is my forte and my favorite thing. And that's working with past life regression and soul retrieval, which I find is so important. POTS therapy, all kinds of things like that. And so what it is they have to do 20 hours of classroom for each class. 20 hours
each topic?
For each topic, 20 hours. Is counted for reading a book report. But the book report is cool because it's all about how they feel about the style of the hypnotherapist, not a book report. I've read them all, you know.
Yeah.
So it's the style of it, and then they write a script. So at the end of the whole thing, it's
Script for as if they were to do the hypnosis.
as if they were going to do it.
Okay.
So a short script, but they send me a script, and then they get the certification, and then they take the second class.
Okay.
The second class, the Metaphysical, as I said, is my favorite. It's kind of like the Karuna symbols. It's working with past lives and all that kind of stuff. So it just makes the healing move faster.
Yeah.
And it was in the papers and everything, and I had to read it. There was a woman, I think it was Chicago way. She was like 600 pounds and couldn't leave her house. And they had a past life come in, and come to find out, to protect herself, she was in a harem, and to protect herself, the first man that was in charge of the harem when she came in was a very sweet man. The second one was very abusive and nasty. So she put on weight to protect herself. As soon as she saw the past life, what it was, it was released. It was released from her soul. And so, and soul retrieval, which is a different act, is you remove those contracts that you've made that are no longer of your highest good. And then you can remove them so that way you're not dealing with some of the past life stuff. And some things can be as simple as, we were talking just earlier, died in a fire. And petrified of fire, or drowned and petrified.
In the water.
Somewhere along the way, I haven't reached that one yet where I have fixed it, but somewhere along the way I did something where I fell from heights. Do you know? So doing that and working with that kind of therapy, it's very quick. It's very quick. And the thing that's so fun with me is, first of all, I see their loved ones around them, and I've been laughing because people coming to me for stop smoking want to know I'm a medium, because they want to know their relatives are supporting them and helping them.
Yeah.
And so it's fun because I get to see it. I've had a couple of fabulous times where I got to see their past life. I actually traveled it with them. Now, I can't say anything to them when I'm asking them questions, because I don't want to put any false memories in case it's, I learned that lesson, and I'm seeing when I learned that lesson, do you know what I mean? But it's usually I'm riding with them on their ride.
Right.
And it's a lot of fun. And
Yeah, so that's
the
the psychic
conversation
part.
afterwards, yeah. But I wait until they tell me what it is, and if it matches what I've got, and I'm like, woo, you know, and it puts for a really fun discussion and stuff like that.
Right.
But it is very healing. I probably wouldn't have been able to stay in a relationship or anything if I didn't learn some quirks I had from past life stuff. So it's very healing.
Yeah,
So that's why the Metaphysical is my favorite, because I can watch it happen. I have a funny story for you. I had a client that I was reading, and as soon as I went to put the cards down, I turned around and I saw PTSD, and I knew it was in a foreign country. And I turned around and I said to her, her energy was all ziggy and zaggy and everything. Now, once I tell somebody they're coming for a reading, I don't charge any extra if I add the extra stuff, and I'll just give them some extra time. So I said to her, would you mind if we did a little hypnosis? I won't take away from your time from your reading, but would you mind if we did it? So I went through this whole thing, and I ended up doing a little POTS therapy and stuff like that with her, and a lot of chakra clearing and some of the standard stuff too.
Sure.
But anyway, at the end of it, she goes, I feel terrific. And it was great because the information came to me so much faster, because when somebody's aligned, you can get the information so much faster.
It's easier.
So anyway, we had this incredible session. She was thrilled. She hugged me. Now, I did not know that she was going to counseling. I asked that if it's hypnosis, and I have intake forms, but for readings, I don't ask that question.
Sure.
So she calls me up and she says to me, she goes, Patti, she goes, my counselor, my psychologist is a little concerned that somebody that reads cards did POTS therapy. So I let her know what my qualifications were, and the therapist came right down off the ledge.
Right.
I think he's thinking of somebody with a turban and a,
Sure.
you know what I mean? And
Right, with the
glasses
tarot
doing
cards.
POTS therapy on her. So he was all nerved up, but once he found out that I was qualified, then he was all good. So it worked out really well.
Could you not everybody might know what parts therapy is.
Parts therapy is, we all have parts of us that sabotage us. So, in other words, if you're sitting there and you're trying to do weight loss, you might have that part of you that midnight is determined it's going to go walk and eat the bag of Oreos. I got a few little pots that like to play that, you know. So to eat the bag. So what you do is you go to that part and you have the person while they're under talk to that part and get the part to work with them to do it. So I also do virtual gastric band.
Oh, really?
Which is, and it's so funny because there's a woman from England that wrote the program and is copyrighted, and she's got a girlfriend in Canada, and she only allows the two of them to teach it. And I'm trying to make a program that I rewrite that is very respectful of copyright laws, because I have copyrighted.
But you can mirror the intent.
So I'm trying to do something like that, and it's hard because I'm so respectful. Her first session is so perfect. I love it, love it, love it. But it's very English, so I could actually make it more American and probably go through it to set up the program, because I really want to pay one of my students to do it to me, you know, because I'm having a huge success rate with it.
The angels say you can do it.
Yeah, I can write it. I need to rewrite the thing so I can teach it. Absolutely. Thank you. I got a little extra.
It's nice to get the confirmation, though, for sure. Yeah. Now, your space that you have, though, what's the name of it and how long have you been there?
It's called the Mind's Eye, and that is a funny story, too.
Okay.
My 401k guy, he paid a ton of money to learn how to meditate in schools in Boston, and he couldn't. He's a 401k, Wall Street.
Oh, he's logic-minded.
Type A.
Yeah, absolutely. So every time he came into where I worked, I would give him a homework assignment. It could be as simple as, I want you to walk your 2-year-old son in nature and notice 5 things you didn't notice, opening up the right side of his brain for him. And he had like a Led Zeppelin type of band called the Mind's Eye, and I love that name. So when I rented my first space and they wanted to put out a plaque, I didn't have a name. So I called him up and I said to him, can I borrow the name? And he said, you got me to learn hypnosis. He goes, I will gift you the name. And it's the spirits, the way things come all the way around. Many years later, he came to me, and he had Parkinson's disease. And again, he was so loving and caring. So when the stock market fell and all his 401k people didn't have their money dropped, he would like hurt for every one of them. So what ended up happening is it made him sick. And so he came to the shop, and I got like a bunch of people, friends and stuff that were different healers doing work with him. And I did a hypnosis on him that he felt was very powerful, where I had the angels cutting the cords to all these people and removing those cords. And he found that very beneficial. But I don't take full credit because I had a team work on him. And he went into remission. And a friend of his also ended up with it in a similar field. So I don't know whether they worked together or he met him through, you know, people with Parkinson's or something. So he sent him to him, and he went into remission as well. So it lets you know, we did Reiki on him, we did hypnosis on him, we did intuitive healing on him. I mean, it was, there was a whole bag of coconuts involved.
The whole shebang.
Yeah, the whole shebang. And both of them ended up in remission. And I hadn't heard from him because I left that business and I moved on another business for a day job before I retired from it. And so I hadn't heard from him for years, and I bumped into a friend of his, and he's still in remission, and this has got to be at least 10 years.
Wow, that's
so
amazing.
It's so amazing how this stuff goes. So he gave me my name, and the Mind's Eye healers gave him healing.
And where is that?
It's a beautiful thing. The Mind's Eye, it's on Airport Road in Warwick. So it's 111 Airport Road. I'm in an office condo.
111, nice numbers.
111.
Yeah.
That's why I rented it.
Now, do you have a website in case someone wants to get hold of you?
Yes, it's the Mind's Eye, RI.com.
Okay. So it's MINDZ, right?
MINDZ.
Okay.
And it's the Mind's Eye,
Right.
RI.
Okay.
It's the website.
Yeah.
So
It's really fascinating, though. So how did you get into all the metaphysics?
a lot of the stuff I did from when I was a child. It was so it came to me like we'd go on vacation and my parents would be driving and I'd say, can we stop at the ice cream parlor with the big cow on the top, you know? And I'd never been there before and my parents were like, what are you talking about? And around the corner and see the big cow on the top of the building.
Yeah.
So I did it all the way along. And then what happened was, then I benched it when I was 13. I was in junior high school, and I looked at the staircase. I was in 8th grade, and all these kids, 7th graders, were frightened going into middle school. And I saw their like great-grandparents and their loved ones all around them. And I turned to two of my friends and I said, isn't it great that their loved ones are all hanging with them? And so that way they're not scared. And the two girlfriends looked at me like I had 3 heads, a tail, you know?
Yeah.
And it made me, I switched it. I was 13 years old and I switched it down.
Right.
And then I have to do everything dramatic, being an aquarium, you would understand. So I actually, when I was 18, a bird flew in, a crow flew into my windshield and got caught in my windshield wipers.
Oh, wow.
And somebody I worked with that I talked to all the time that I didn't know was into this, turned around and said, they're trying to get your attention. You're supposed to open back up. And he didn't even know my history.
Sure.
And sure enough, it started flying.
Yeah.
The shapeshifters, yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
And then what happened is, in the late 1990s, I was reading cards from 1985 on, but in the late 1990s, I had that 4 horrible years in your life. We all have a group of years that you're like, oh my gosh, how did I live through it? And in those 4 years, I was looking something for myself. I had 3 teenagers, an ex-husband that was fun, a current husband that was going through a whole lot, and father dying, you know, just everything you could think of from all different angles. And I said I had to find something for myself. And I took a beginning tarot class with a friend that made me not be able to read anymore because I was overthinking.
Sure.
And she said to me, buy a different deck and it'll combine what I've taught you and what it is.
That's right.
And it did that, and then she handed a flyer out, a day of shamanic healing.
Yeah.
And I went to her and I said, I want to do apprenticeship work with you.
Right.
And we did the apprenticeship, which she was fabulous. Not only did she do the shamanic stuff, she led you to check out Reiki, hypnosis, and you would find other professionals.
Absolutely.
And I just started taking the classes. And then I opened the mind's eye and everything was wonderful. And then in 2010, life started taking some turns on me that were not too good. And all of a sudden I realized that because I was making the mind's eye bigger, but I wasn't moving myself far along.
Right.
And I finally realized that they were going to torture me unless I did. So it was the funniest thing because all this stuff came up in my life. And I turned around and I just started praying and I said, I promise you, if we can get this fixed, I will follow through with what I'm supposed to do.
That's right.
And I've never had, I've had problems, don't get me wrong, and I've had rough stuff. I mean, that's life. That's our life's lessons and stuff. But since I realized it and put in the effort and stuff like that, and move forward and keep listening to when they guide me in a different direction.
Sometimes, you know, you have to lay the foundation down for yourself so you feel comfortable. And once you do that, then you're able to just let it happen.
Yes. And before that, as I said, I'm a control freak.
Yeah, but they understand that. They know that.
Yeah.
So that's probably why they give you a little latitude so it could happen.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And you know, as an Aquarian, we have a tendency of the shiny penny being in so many different directions.
Oh,
That
please. I've studied more things than I can imagine.
I got to tell you something, and I love it all because I think the more tools you have in your toolbox, the more effective of a healer you can be.
I agree.
And some of my students says, "Oh my God, if she says that one more time."
Spirit can work with you better the more you know.
So,
You know, if you've got a background in 4 or 5 different things, they can use you to help many more people.
absolutely.
Yeah, use our
absolutely.
point of references and our knowledge.
And even a crazy example is I do some psychic detective work with police departments, and the pendulum. I've used the pendulum, but I've never really. I get the messages,
Yeah.
in, so I don't.
Sure.
Well, geographically, I am not good.
Okay.
So I started with maps, doing the pendulum.
Pendulum, yeah.
And I found two bodies. Do you know what I mean? So it's crazy that having those extra tools.
Right.
A student of mine turned around and said, "I bet the pendulum would help you because sometimes the students become the teacher." And she said, "I bet that would work." And she did, and unbelievable some of the stuff
Well,
that's happened.
sometimes you have to realize also that it's your guides or their guides speaking through them to get the message
I
to
have
you.
to agree completely
Yeah,
with you.
yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, because sometimes
absolutely.
it's hard to read for ourselves. So sometimes we have to have
too
the
close.
conduit.
You're too
Yeah,
close.
the conduit
We
to
can
give
read
us.
for ourselves because we do it intellectually.
Yeah.
I can read for myself
Right.
because intellectually, but sometimes I can't. It's very hard for me to. Sometimes you get used to the way you do things. Do you
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
And absolutely, sometimes you have to listen to spirit. Sometimes spirit comes through somebody else because you're not listening, and they have to knock you on the head.
Oh yeah, with a 2x4.
With a 2x4. Yes.
Right, right.
Yes.
That's where the others come in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, if you work with spirit, they don't do things for you, but they guide you in the right direction. It's like having a well-oiled machine. Sometimes we forget to oil ourselves, and then we can move forward.
I'll bet all of you. Do you all work with clients?
I do.
Yes.
Yeah, you all do. One of the things that I bet that you found, all right, one of the things is because of hypnosis, deep breaths, getting that oxygen to the brain. I worked as controller of a $35 million company, and it was constantly like this.
Right.
And at night, your head's spinning sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
You take 3 deep breaths, it takes the negative stuff and puts it to one side, puts it to the other, and life makes sense to you. Well, I'll be up 3 nights in a row, and all of a sudden have a client, and it's coming through that she's wound tighter than a drum, and I'll say, take the 3 breaths, and as I'm saying it, I'm saying, you dummy, you should be doing it for yourself. You know what I mean?
Sometimes
You're
we get the
right.
message too when
You're
we're
right
giving
about
it.
that. How many
Yes.
times do we not
Yes.
look for ourselves?
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. And you say it to the client, and as you're saying it, you're like, wow, I could have been like much more rested this week if I did it.
As you get older, today's my birthday, so I'm very in tune with that. As you get older, you also have to learn to accept help sometimes. And that letting go of the control and the way of doing things
It's been a big lesson.
is a challenge.
It's been a big lesson in me, starting by giving up and letting other people do some of the work at my shop and not holding on to it like this. And then I'm finding it in life now too. It's absolutely, it's amazing. I found that my circle and my crew are so cool. I'm so fortunate. I've got such a great crew circle.
So before we finish, we're just about out of time.
Oh, okay.
How do people get a hold of you though if they want to go to your location though, or get an appointment with you?
Well, usually the easiest way is by phone.
Okay.
401-465-8400.
What was
That's
that? No,
usually
I missed the first.
401-465-8400.
Okay.
And that's usually the best way to get a hold of me. You can also Facebook message me on the Mind's Eye, MINDZEYE, on Facebook, my Facebook page, Facebook message, or a message through Wix on the
directory?
website that you had
Okay.
talked about earlier.
Okay. No, the mindsiri.com.
You got it. Thank you.
All right.
I was forgetting it.
Well, it's very
Yeah.
good. It's been very interesting,
Thank you. I
talking
enjoyed
with
it
you and
myself.
enjoying it.
Thank
Right.
you. Nice talking to
but
you.
it was also nice to hear how you've kind of woven things together
Yep.
and how that actually gives you a better foundation.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
you can fall back on so much.
When I think about how all over the board I was at one time and how it's all come in like this, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
The path will always take you to where you need to be.
Absolutely,
We're always,
absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, thank you very much for sharing.
And it's always
Yeah.
better than what we imagined.
I have to agree with you on that. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Our best thinking doesn't take us to where spirit's best thinking takes us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And once you take that ego out, it is
Right.
fabulous.
Yeah.
But it's a stubborn little bugger.
When I lost it, I loved it that I lost it.
Yeah.
The ego. It was, wrap it up.
So I've learned though that like the spirit side though they see the whole picture. We don't always, even though we think
Oh,
we do.
absolutely not.
You know, but
But-
yeah.
Yeah.
So.